Hello and welcome to the latest edition of our Sustainability Perspectives podcast, where as part of the virtual portion of the Sustainable Packaging Summit, we hear from a range of different packaging experts to learn more about how their company tackles the sustainability challenges the world faces. So my name is Elisabeth Skura, and today we will take a look back at Packaging Europe's Sustainable Packaging Summit, which took place in Amsterdam on November 12th and 13th this year. And we'll take a look back together with coatings experts Actega, and we'll get their take on some of the most important issues raised at the summit. And we'll discuss the company's motivation to take part in the summit, some of the key topics discussed, such as challenges around the PPWR, committing to net zero, plastic circularity, and the rise of fiber-based packaging, and also how Actega can support this. And we'll also delve into the importance of collaboration. And we'll take a look at future developments that might be coming up in the industry and that we might focus on at next year's summit. So to do all this, I'm very pleased today to welcome Dennis Siepmann, who is the Global Head of Sustainability at Actega, to the podcast. So welcome, Dennis. Great to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the invitation and for the warm welcome, and very happy to be here.
To get us started, could you maybe briefly introduce yourself and also talk a bit about Actega and what the company does?
Yeah, of course. So Actega is part of the German specialty corporation Altana. We are located or based in Germany. We have production sites and R&D sites all over the world. So we are developing and producing coatings, adhesives, varnishes, printing inks, but also sealants, plastic compounds for different applications. So in the coatings range, for flexible packaging, for polymer films, but also for fiber-based packages like paper-based packaging for different applications. Mostly, as I said, in packaging applications, the majority goes into food packaging. So there's also a very special expertise of us, I would say, when it comes to regulatory know-how. We have very skilled and experienced people who deal with regulation all the time, with food contact, with migration topics, with certain substances that are allowed or not allowed in packaging applications or in food contact applications. So I would say that's more or less our focus. Globally, we are roughly 1,400 people. Strong focus on close customer collaboration. So our technical service and R&D sites are located in North America, South America. We have sites in Asia, big focus on Europe, obviously. And from here, we are working closely together with our customers to develop new packaging applications, to assist them with innovative products from the specialty chemicals range, I would say. About myself, a few words. As you already mentioned and introduced me, I'm the Global Head of Sustainability. I'm with Actega now for a bit over 14 years, previously in marketing and R&D positions, and now taking care of emission reduction, bio-based raw materials, working closely with our R&D and finding new options for the materials we are using to slowly move away from fossil-based materials. I'm talking to our suppliers. I'm the main contact for our customers as well when it comes to questions like emissions, like EcoVadis topics and all that kind of stuff. So very diverse topics I'm working on from a day to day. And then when time allows it, I'm also trying to help our marketing colleagues, our communication colleagues to spread the word about Actega in the packaging world and explain a little bit what we can do to support our customers in their sustainability journey.
Great, and that ties in nicely to the topics of today's podcast as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, obviously Actega exhibited and also spoke at the Sustainable Packaging Summit. And could you talk a bit more about what motivated the company to take part?
Yes, of course. So for me personally, it was the second time to attend the summit, and it's always a great pleasure to be there. It's a very well organized and very professional summit, very good speakers, and it addresses the most prevalent subjects, I would say, which are moving around the packaging industry. So for me, this year, I think it was very important to discuss with peers and also understand what our customers, what brand owners think about the current packaging waste regulation situation, how they perceive where the situation is going, how this regulation is going to be implemented, what the current obstacles and hurdles are, and to get the view of the sum of the packaging industry, I would say. As I introduced Actega, we are supplying into the packaging industry, and so our customers are serving mostly brand owners, the fast-moving consumer goods industry, and so on. So it's for me also of high interest to learn what the parts of the value chain that lie beyond our customers face currently, what their obstacles, what their challenges are. And the summit is a great event to learn more about that. So there were great speeches of big major brand owners to understand how they tackle recycling topics, how they deal with PPWR, how they approach the circular economy, and so on. Another big focus topic for me was to see where or how our peers take the challenge of reporting, especially looking at the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive that is coming up next year for some or the following year, and how people approach the topic of data gathering, fixing their data points, and then trying to get a systematic approach to their reporting. SBTI also of interest for us as well, and yeah, if time allowed it in at the summit, always looking at the innovation stage and learning more about new startups, new solutions that come up, especially bio-based materials of high interest, or new approaches to circular economy, to waste management, to recycling, and so on. So overall, a great summit to attend and to learn and to network. But as you mentioned, we also took the opportunity to present ourselves there. So we gave a presentation on the innovation stage on our EcoLeaf technology, which is a new approach to metallized labels, very prominent in reducing emissions when you apply metallization and metallized films to, or as an alternative to metallized films on label substrates. So that was also very well perceived, and a colleague of mine gave the presentation there. So we used the opportunity to inform also our customers or potential customers about that technology.
So yeah, leading on from that, I wanted to ask you, what were some of the key topics from Actega's perspective that were discussed at the summit?
Yeah, as mentioned, PPWR was one big topic there, and it was interesting to learn also from some politicians that were present there, how looking at the past, how PPWR developed and why it is currently in the shape that it is. And also to understand not just from a packaging producer's perspective, but also from a waste management perspective, how the value chain deals with the regulation, what challenges lie ahead, and how people perceive that regulation and will work with it in the future. For me, very interesting was to hear the speeches of the brand owners, how they approach sustainable packaging solutions and bring those to the market, while addressing circular economy topics, while addressing recycling topics, and so on, but also looking at the economies. So not just taking one individual piece of packaging and making it as sustainable as it could be, but increasing the cost of that piece of packaging 100-fold, but still coming up with solutions which are very economically viable and work very well in the current setting that we are in, and to just learn and understand how they approach that challenge.
And how do all these topics that you heard about and talked about align with Actega's work and focus?
Yeah, as Actega, we are part of the packaging industry. So we are supplying tiny bits of packaging finishing, like coatings, like inks and adhesives. So it's a very vital part for packaging to actually work. So to provide, for example, nice shiny gloss on fiber-based packages that make packaging very attractive to the customer, or also functional coatings, adhesives, barrier materials that make the packaging fulfill all the requirements that it needs to. So when it comes to that, it's for us important to collaborate with our customers, to collaborate with the whole value chain when it comes to topics like recyclability of the packaging. So we cannot just go into the market and say, okay, we are selling our product here, and whatever happens with it downstream, it's not of our business. Whenever a product from us would interfere, for example, with recycling streams or with waste management streams, we need to act. So, and that's why we are taking part at the summit. We are talking to people, we are talking to our peers, we're talking to our customers, and we're talking to the whole value chain to understand what challenges do they have when it comes to products like ours. One good example that we addressed at the summit a couple of times, we discussed very deeply with customers and peers, was, for example, how certain materials that are applied on fiber-based material interfere with recycling. If they reduce the quality of the recycled fiber, in PPWR, there are design for recycling guidelines coming up and addressed, and how that all fits together and how we can play a part in that. So in the past, we put lots of resources into R&D, into the development of coatings and materials that support the recyclability of fiber-based packaging. So we can very boldly present our solutions there. We can explain to our customers how the materials perform downstream and how they interact when it comes to the end of life and to the recycling, and therefore support our customers in certain questions that they have there. So yeah, recyclability, circular economy is very important for us. Again, I stress that we are part of the packaging industry and there are challenges with packaging, and we try to support the whole value chain with our products as much as possible.
You obviously mentioned some of the key topics that you found most interesting at the Sustainable Packaging Summit. I was keen to find out a bit about some of your key takeaways from the summit and any new insights that you gained from people there.
Yes, of course. So yeah, coming back again to PPWR, that there were some discussions on stage that were very eye-opening in understanding how different companies approach the topic. And especially there were some remarks how PPWR and also other reporting initiatives that are coming up are somehow clashing currently with the economic situation. So to address topics like PPWR or CSRD in companies, you need manpower, you need resources, you need people who are knowledgeable about the task and to report efficiently on such topics. And at the same time, the current economic situation is somehow critical, I would say, and that's just a controversy. And therefore, it was discussed on how we can approach those tasks efficiently, and especially taking such opportunities as discussing together at such summits, how people share best practices on how they deal with topics. And key takeaway for me was when we look at the design for recycling or recyclability guidelines that are coming up in 2028 from PPWR, we shouldn't wait for that. We should start preparing for those guidelines. We should look at different industry initiatives, how they address design for recyclability, and then make our own assumptions and get prepared and start looking at our contribution along the value chain, how we can address the topics that will most probably be laid down through the design for recycling guidelines. Yeah, nevertheless, the overall feeling for me when I left the summit was that there is still a bit of uncertainty at the packaging producers on how to evaluate their packaging and how to report on the data necessities that they have. Following the summit, I was also at another conference in Hamburg last week, which also had the key point PPWR addressed. And there were about 140, 150 people. And also there, the mindset was very open, but still challenged, lots of uncertainty, and people didn't really know how to deal with all the challenges that come up. And again, we have good expertise in those topics. We need to become the experts on PPWR, and we need to share our knowledge with our customers and help as much as possible and support our customers and the value chain here.
Yes, and you've kind of anticipated my next question a little bit already, but maybe you have something extra to add. I was going to ask you, how does Actega as a company address these challenges, especially around the PPWR?
Yeah, we have established a recycling lab recently where we can test the packaging that our customers produce. We can see how a combination between certain fiber-based materials and our coatings, for example, printing inks and so on, perform in recycling streams. So we cannot just look at our materials separately and just evaluate how do our coatings perform. It's always a combination between coating and underlying substrate. The thickness of the substrate plays a role, the quality of fiber, the nature of the fiber used, and so on. So every piece of packaging is obviously very individual. And therefore, there isn't just a blanket statement where we say, our product performs this and that in recycling streams. As I said, it's always a combination. And that's why we build up that infrastructure where we can run standard procedures for recycling testing for fiber-based materials, invite our customers for sample testing, for coating with our materials, and then running it through the process. And then depending on the outcome, see how we can improve that, how we can address the challenges and the topics or the obstacles that come out of that recycling test and so on. Maybe one thing that I didn't mention in detail previously, there was at the summit also lots of discussion around circular economy, but also around emission management. And companies talked about how they can reduce their corporate carbon footprint, their scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and so on. And that's also one thing where we can help our customers. First of all, at Actega and the whole Altana group, we made the switch to green electricity roughly 4 years ago and switched to renewable electricity on a global scale. So reducing our scope 2 emissions basically to 0. So that's one thing where we do our homework, I would say. But then looking at how we can support the value chain and our customers in that regard, we are looking at materials which are more energy efficient, how to make the processes at our customers more efficient, and reducing the amount of resources they need to use, and therefore also reducing their scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Higher energy efficiency, reduce resource use for applications and for use. That's definitely a topic how we address, or one of our approaches, how we address the challenges as well.
I wanted to wrap up our conversation by asking, looking ahead to next year and asking you about what topics do you anticipate for next year's summit, and how is this reflected in Actega's plans?
Very good question. Again, coming back to PPWR, that will continue to be a major topic from my perception. Maybe we see already some news on the development of the recyclability guidelines, and that can be reported on. And still, there will hopefully be good discussions about all around implementation and picking certain challenges from that regulation. So I'm really looking forward to that and getting more knowledge and more insight into PPWR. Learning about innovations, product innovations in packaging, and especially bio-based materials might be of interest for the future. I hope that next year there will also again be an innovation stage where smaller startups or also larger companies can present their innovations and teach the audience about how they can support the packaging industry. Recyclability, recycled plastics in packaging applications will be a major topic as well. As you know, in PPWR, there's the need for using recycled raw materials also in sensitive packaging applications like food packaging, and there are huge question marks related to that. So currently there's just one in Europe, one material stream that is working in direct food contact applications, which is PET. And we need to look at other streams as well. We need to understand how recycled materials perform migration-wise, perform in food contact applications, and how we can access such waste streams and make them viable for packaging applications as well. So that will probably be a huge topic next year as well.
Yes, I think you've identified some key topics there, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussion on that. I can also share with you and the audience that we'll be back in the Netherlands next year, but in Utrecht as opposed to Amsterdam, and we'll be there for 3 days in November next year. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on our website for more information as it becomes available.
Looking forward to that.
Great. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's podcast, and just leaves me to say thank you very much for being here today and for an interesting conversation. And I'm very glad you enjoyed our Sustainable Packaging Summit and found it useful.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And quick reminder, if you're interested in finding out more what Dennis talked about and what was discussed at this year's summit, as a Packaging Europe member, you can access all the panel discussions and presentations, obviously including Actega's, on demand. And yeah, just go to packagingeurope.com and click on membership to learn more about that. Thanks very much for listening. Goodbye.